Welcome back, guys. Welcome to the Fierce and Feral podcast. It's been a hot minute. Hey, how's it going? How you been? How's the energy? We've been through some crazy energetic major swings the last few weeks for sure. And I'm so excited to get back in here and talk with you guys about some weird stuff. There's so many things in my life that I study and I research and I go, and then I just never talk about them. And it's time to talk about the weird stuff, guys. So, welcome. If you're new here, hi, what's up? If you're a longtime follower, hey, how you going? Missed you. Haven't been here in a bit, but it's so crazy because you feel so much resistance to do things, right? You want to do this or you should do this, and resistance is there for a reason. It's trying to communicate something to you. And I had so much resistance sometimes doing the podcast because something inside of me realized I wasn't being my true authentic self like I am when I'm home or with my friends and family and the people I love. Showing up as a way where, you kind of fit better into society. It's more socially acceptable to talk about these topics or be this way or not be as obnoxious. And if you know me, if you've been on my lives, if you've seen any of my videos, sometimes I'm a very obnoxious person. And I've been told my entire life to dim down, not be that much. And I'm so ready to just be too much all of the time, unapologetically. So that's what we're here. We're here being too much today. And I was thinking about it. I was like, I wish I could just remove some of my old podcast episodes because it's just so unnatural, so not me. I'm like, no, it's going to be a beautiful way to see the growth that you've come. It's such a cool way to see the difference in everything. So, we're going to talk about some woo-woo stuff today. And if you're here, you're already interested in it. So that's super, super exciting. But let's talk about the stars and the moons and the planets and birth charts and star charts and what the heck that all even means. Now, I am the personality type, especially in my human design. 3-1. I am an investigator. Google is one of my best friends, and when I go to learn something, I ADHD, hyper focus, go and try to learn as much as I possibly can about that topic. A big driver of that was a limiting belief that I had for a very long time, which was I didn't know enough. So it kept me from having conversations. It kept me from engaging in the things I wanted to do. It kept me from making a podcast for so freaking long. And then I work with my clients and I get closer and I work with my friends and my family and I talk about the things that I discover and I learn and I enhance in myself. And I'm like, oh my gosh, why am I not sharing this with the world? Here we are. Let's talk about it. So I've been reading star charts for probably just over 6 months now, getting really, really deep into the science behind everything. But before I even dove deeper into it, I wanted to just look into the scientific evidence of all of it. When it came to getting my meditation certification or my positive psychology practitioner stuff, even my Reiki energy healing, I wanted to see the science behind it all, which is so funny because, it's been scientifically proven that we can only see 0.009434%, whatever it was, of everything around us. We can only see that much, 0.0034%. That means we cannot visibly see 99% of everything that surrounds us. How terrifying. A really good example is, dog whistles. We all know dog whistles, right? Dogs can hear them, we can't. There's so many things that we can't see, hear, or explain, and we're slowly developing ways to be able to monitor those, but that's why we have machines that can, conduct experiments and pick up energetic frequencies and heat signatures and all the beautiful fun things. And stuff even that we can't see, which is 99% of all of it, affects us in energetic ways. It's so cool because everything that I dive into when I try to go look at what does science say about this, when it comes to spirituality, always comes with a scientist who was such a big skeptic and hated the topic so much that they dedicated their life's work to debunking it. to being that skeptic, to proving that it was bullshit. And every time they're almost amazed. And there are even instances where they were embarrassed and would cover it up in their findings, and just, it's so, so cool. Things like the grounding, and the science behind how the energetic frequency of the earth likes to pull negative ions out of our body, and it helps with inflammation, which, inflammation is the key correlation behind all sickness in body. So just being out on the earth helps with inflammation, helps give you a boost to your immune system. There's an entire documentary on it. I think it's on Amazon and it's on YouTube, called The Earthing. I go into that in depth, especially the science behind all of it, with my clients. And reading birth charts is really, really fun, because let's just jump between the science behind it and then how I spiritually explain it to people. So there was a scientist, Carl Gustav Jung is what his name was. Gustav. I thought it was the funniest name. I'm like, I love that so much. He's like the psychoanalyst and this that gave us and discovered terms like extrovert, introvert. He created and discovered all those things. He was the biggest skeptic behind astrology. Like, he hated it. It made him so angry. And he was the perfect scientist to be able to do more scientific studies behind astrology, because he was a skeptic but open-minded, which is beautiful because it doesn't give us as much tunnel vision, right? And he did an entire experiment. If you want to read more about it, I'm not going to get super in depth with it right now, but it's called The Structure and Dynamics of the Psyche. Really just one of the first people in his time to study the correlations between astrology and people's our psyche, their conscious and subconscious mind and personality traits. And he found a correlation of like 96.8% to 1 between the two. And he conducted them over and over and over and over and over again, to the point where other scientists did the same and trying to debunk it. And there are things like the Mars effect with Geschaft. I couldn't tell you his exact name. Starts with a G, though. He did experiments on the Mars effect with astrology, talking about how certain planets can discover and tell us our career path that will make us the most abundant and successful. And he did the same thing. He was so ready to debunk it, and just studied the birth charts of like famous and successful people for like hundreds and hundreds, and found similar results. And then it was duplicated in Belgium, and it was duplicated in the US, and it was duplicated here. And then at one point there was a big scandal, and somebody tried to cover up, saying that they debunked it, but they actually didn't. And it was a whole thing. It's crazy. And we talk about it all the time. Scientists are always like, hey, depending on what season you're born can definitely affect the way that your body and your personality develops, because you have access to a certain type of nutrients. If you're born way back when in the summer, you have certain types of nutrients and foods that are available to you, versus if you're born in the winter, northern hemisphere, southern hemisphere, it all just matters, right? 100%. Your environment, a little bit of nature and nurture coming together. Well, the physical things that we can see, we know affect the way we develop. What about the things we can't see? 99% of everything around us. We know scientifically that the energy given off by the moon, its electromagnetic frequency, its gravity, the pull of all of it, affects the earth and the tides. It's 3/4 water. Totally affects the tides. Same thing with us, right? We're 98% water. You try to tell me that like the electromagnetic, just the energy frequency that affects the entire world, just somehow doesn't affect me too. Like my skin is just so like, can't get through here. No, that's not how it works. X-rays penetrate us all the time. Like things and bodies and energy matters. And some of us are more sensitive to it than others. And you can learn how to grow to feel these energies as well. That includes growing a connection and relationship with your body, but that's a tangent for another day. But talking about astrology, when I really explain it to people, is the science and study of the energy, the cosmic energies that come off of each planet. Each planet has its own frequency and its own type of energy. I mean, we've got gamma rays, like UV rays, UVA, UVB. We have all these different types of light and energy that's constantly circulating. And each planet has their own. Each planet has their own energy it gives off, just like the sun, just like the earth and its magnetic pole. It all has its own form of radiation. And when it comes, depending how it's coming at us, where it's coming at us, it's going to affect us in certain ways. And astrology is a scientific study behind how different frequencies and different energies that come from the cosmos affect us. And we can measure that in ways of, machines. Machines help measure. We can literally look and see if somebody's emotional state is higher or lower, or physical pain is higher or lower. We can measure these with the tools that we have. And it's comparing the correlation between the energy that comes from the cosmos and how it affects our bodies emotionally, physically, and energetically. And our body can pick up energy in ways that we can't visibly see, which makes sense since we can't see almost everything around us. Our body picks those up. And that's where we get energetic feelings or gut feelings, or, if you walk into a room and it just feels tense. Or when you leave and you go somewhere and you just have a bad feeling about something. This is your body picking up energy. But the unfortunate part is if we don't know that we're constantly absorbing and picking up energy and not cleansing that energy, it builds up and it builds up and it builds up. We have physical reactions to emotional responses. So when you get nervous and you have to public speak, your heart races, your palms get sweaty, your body is physically reacting to the emotional you had. That energy, if it doesn't go anywhere, it builds up. And it builds up and it manifests into disease, autoimmune triggers. I know when I'm not speaking my truth, when my throat chakra is blocked, when my TMJ is so bad, I can barely open my mouth. Because that energy is just building up because I'm not letting it out. Ooh, side tangent for another day. So, back to the stars and the planets. The way I explain it when I sit down and do star chart readings with my girls is Earth is school, right? Let's talk about the spiritual explanation. Earth, this is a school. We're enrolling into college to learn some lessons. And you're excited to learn those things, but you're trying to figure out and map a plan on how you can learn these things by having what I call default settings or your prerequisites. So you choose a place on the planet to be born under certain energetic circumstances. So the alignment of the stars and the planets and all that beautiful fun things. You choose exactly when to be born, where to be born, and who to be born by, who your parents are, to be able to learn the life lessons that you need to learn. But we have free will, and that's why we give ourselves these prerequisites, so to speak, these default settings, how we react to things emotionally, how our subconscious processes good and bad experiences, how we physically show up in the world, how where our restrictions should be and our love should be, and what communication style we have. And it's all affected by everything that goes around. So it's really interesting when you start to see these things and these correlations. Now, I'm not super huge into pop culture astrology, where it's looking at horoscopes every day or anything like that, because it is really all just an interpretation on somebody looking at a chart and intuitively pulling the data and the pieces, putting it all together, because there's more than just your main sign. We all know, or most of us know, our sun sign, because there's 3 main signs. We have our sun, moon, and our rising. I'll talk a little bit about those now, because people are like, well, what sign are you? And I'm like, sun, moon, or rising? Which part do you want to know about me? Meh. So we have our sun, our moon, and our rising. And our sun sign is the most popular. It is our foundation. It's our bone structure. It's our personality that we are born as. And it's our main foundational piece. It's our outward personality usually as well. It's our default. Now, our moon sign is who we are, or what characteristics that are most strong within us, because we all have aspects of all zodiac signs. It's just which ones are more developed than others. And then our moon sign is our subconscious mind. It's our emotional response. It is who we are on our innermost self when we are most comfortable. So generally, if you're truly connected with yourself and open with yourself, you're most comfortable when you're at home and alone, or with your most connected loved one, your spouse. Who you truly are, and your emotional state and your emotional responses. And your subconscious mind, which is important to know because our subconscious mind is like 70% of our brain that we generally can't access. Our conscious mind is what we are navigating through consistently. Our subconscious mind is also what puts out our vibrational frequencies to attract everything we want, which is manifestation. Podcast for another day. So that is our moon sign. And our rising sign is how we show up instantly and are perceived by others. Some people like to explain this as the mask that we wear. I don't see it as a mask. I see it as a perception. This is how you are perceived by other people, and you're not perceived by other people. We actually live in a perceptive reality. So you are actually the way that follow with me slowly here. You are actually the person of not who you think other people think you are, but who you think other people think you are. It's a whole thing. I'd have to draw out a map for you, but it is your go-to way. Your rising sign is how you initially react to things before emotions pop in, or how you initially go to do things, and how people perceive you, which is when it comes to business and branding, I really look at people's rising signs as well as their midheaven, and it helps kind of see how you show up, how you're perceived in the world. And when how you are perceived lines up with your branding and your business, there's a connect there that allows customers to be oh yeah, authentic, true. Where if you perceive somebody some way but they show up another way, you kind of get a subconscious lack of trust. And owning a business and having sales and all that stuff, we need trust, right? That's what sales is. So when we move into things like the planets, there are so many different points on our birth charts. That right where we were born and everything that's around us and how it all affects everything. There's so many points and correlations, and there's a reason there are doctorate degrees in astrology and really studying the science behind how it all works. But we have our zodiac signs, which are our characteristics of our personality. Again, we all have characteristics of all of these. It's just which ones we have more developed than others, depending on what area of life. We have our planets, which is the experiences of life. These are things like communication and love and exchange of energy and transformation and restriction and abundance and action. And there's so many different ones. This is where you'll hear most of the planets you'll hear the most about, I think, is Mercury. Mercury's in retrograde, which we just got out of. Mercury is a planet correlated with communication. And when Mercury is doing a certain sort of thing in the sky, when we're at a certain type of orbit, the energy that comes off of Mercury and radiates, the way it interacts with us, usually fucks with our electronics a little bit. That cosmic energy makes it difficult to communicate on all forms, not just in our brains, which is a computer, but in the electronic field as well. By texts, emails, sending emails for days, they don't go anywhere. It's a whole thing. And the house that something is in. So we have a zodiac, personality traits like characteristics. We have the planets, which is the experience of life that it's in. And we have the house, which is the area of life. So this is things like your career, your public image, your travel and psychology, your partnerships, your job, your health routines, your creativity and romance, love, your home and family life, security, communication, your ego, even your psychic abilities. We have 12 different houses. And depending on where everything is located, it can start to tell us things. It maps out what things, where things are supposed to be. So, for example, let's talk about Mercury again. Mercury and communication. Communication is such a big thing, and wherever Mercury is in your chart, whatever house it is, area of life it is, that's where the communication is the most important to you. And depending on which zodiac sign you have with that determines how you effectively communicate, or the restrictions that you have when you communicate. So let me give you an example. If you have your Mercury sign in a place of, let's say, the 11th house, which is humanity and technology. I call this like the social media sign. This is somebody who communication is going to be done really, really well, like online and through social media. This is somebody, if they own a business, I'm like, oh my gosh, doing online courses, communicating with people online is such a great and like ideal strength for you. If you have it caught up in, let's say, a Gemini type of a personality trait. This means you have quick, fast communication. You can see things from all perspectives. A lot of communication happens in your mind, and you go through and you're looking at all the possibilities. Communication can go on. Like, there's so many different things in the house of technology. Now, if your communication is in the area of life of, let's say, home and family, communication with your family and your home life is the most important to you. Or if it's material possessions and security, it's maybe getting gifts as your love language. There's so many different ways. And even the ways that the planets line up with each other, conjunct or square off or whatever, matters as well. We can have so many different ways to interpret these things, and I like to teach you guys how to do it as well and how it affects us. And we can start to learn things, not just with our planets, but like our north and south node, which, let's talk about it for a hot second. Our north node is going to be your soul's purpose, your potential, the qualities that you're trying to develop here. These are the things that you signed up for, where your south node is your karmic past. That's going to be your overdeveloped skills that you have learned real quick and real great over the last how many lifetimes. Your Chiron is like your point of healing. There's so many things. And I really like to dig into, especially when I do star chart readings, looking at your north node and south node, looking at what you're trying to do on this planet and this earth, and what even jobs line up best when we look at your career house, but also where does your abundance come through with your Jupiter? Where is all of your restriction and the things that you have just have so much issues with overcoming? What is that and where is it? We also have something called a chart ruler. The chart ruler is the area of your house or the area of your life with the planets that if this area of your life is not on point, the rest of your life, it bleeds into the chaos of everything else. So I'm going to give an example. If your chart ruler is Mercury, we'll just stick with one that you guys know real well that I've been talking about, some planet of communication. So a chart ruler being like Virgo, so your rising sign, and that's how you get that. If you guys want to Google it, feel free. But whatever your rising sign is, whatever planet rules that rising sign. So Virgo is ruled by Mercury, if you're a rising sign Virgo. If your Mercury is in your place of friendships and partnerships, that would mean that the area of your life, your communication with your friends and business partners and loving partners and any partnership that you have, if your communication with the closest friends and family that you have isn't on point, if it's disrupted in any way, if you got communication distress, fighting, anything like that, it bleeds into the rest of your life. Another one would be Venus, and if it was in the house of your first house, let's say. Venus is the planet of love, exchanging energy, sharing. I see this as our money receiving planet, the feminine. It's how we receive money. Love being in the planet of the first house, your ego, yourself. If your self-love is not doing well, if your relationship with yourself, if you hate yourself, it's going to bleed into everything else into your life. When we start to discover certain things like that, we can just get this major aha moment. You're going to be stuck in these self-sabotaging behaviors until you can learn some of these things and these traits. When you put your self-love first, the other things open up. Abundance can come in through the path of least resistance. My rising sign is Taurus, which means I am ruled by Venus, which is the planet of love and beauty and energy and money. And it is in the 12th house, which is our psychic ability, subconscious mind, higher conscious energy. It's working with the energy around you that you can't see. It's my connection to my intuition, and when my connection and my love isn't connected to my intuition, when I am going against my gut feeling or what I know and to feel to be right, chaos happens. And if you know anything about me, I lived in chaos for a very long time. Also, announcement, if you haven't seen, I got engaged. I proposed to my girlfriend a week and a half ago, or is it almost, yeah, it's about a week and a half ago. I proposed, we announced it. We had some time, just us. It was a whole thing, fucking hilarious. Might have to do a whole podcast episode just talking about that because it was so funny. But I hope you might have learned something here. If this is something that you're really just kind of interested in digging more into, I have books I can recommend. I really love, where is it? The Stars Within You, a modern guide to astrology. It's a fun and easy way to kind of dig into the other aspects. But when I do everything from a teaching aspect, a teaching way. So I really, if you're ever wanting to do a star chart reading with me, I do have those readings available in the link in my bio on Instagram. I'll put them in the show notes as well. I just need your time of birth, your place, like the city you were born in, and the date, obviously. Finding the time tends to be the most difficult thing for people, but we really... We dig into understanding and identifying where restriction is in your life and where love and action needs to happen, and money making, growth, expansion, like success, communication, even like a career path or a direction to go. You have a unique energetic blueprint. And just because you have certain default setting doesn't mean you can't grow and expand for them. There's so many things in my star chart that told me things, and I should just start listing out all of the aha moments my clients have had, like holy crap, like an inheritance, yep, that happened, getting into a marriage where you're sexually not aligned with yourself due to people pleasing. I signed up for that. Crazy. Hey, it even said that kidneys is a weak point for me and I have lupus. It's so funny. All the things. Star chart for my fiance literally said that her first marriage would end with a very specific reason. And the second one is the more likely. I thought that was so funny. Also, she would marry into money. And I'm like, you're welcome. Not that I'm rolling in money or rich, but hey, I run a very successful fucking business that I'm proud of. And I feel abundant as hell in my life because I've aligned myself with my energy. I've opened up that intuitive power with mystic business strategies. And you know what? Everyone has the ability to do it. It's being open-minded enough to recognize and take responsibility and see. And then when you can start to use your energy and start to understand yourself more on a really big level that's bigger than us, then you start to have a different perspective on the world. And when we start to reprogram our brain, just because we have a toxic behavior now doesn't mean we can't, like, oh, nope, just I'm a Gemini, like, I'm going to be toxic forever. No, I recognize some of the toxic stuff that I used to be able to do and then switch that into a superpower. Being able to understand my kids' even star charts. I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah, nope, they're having that emotional reaction. Yeah, that makes sense. All right, well, I know they need to work on these types of behaviors or strengthening these abilities, so we work on those. Like one of them stepping into their leadership role and their power and being the center of attention because it's so uncomfortable for them. Because that's what they're born to do, is they're born to be a leader. Or one's feeling their emotions more rather than just pushing them down. And teaching them how to have the energetic and emotional space to be able to process feelings. And it's changed my parenting so much, and it's given me the ability to just have more of an understanding to help them grow in that way. And it's been nothing but a positive experience. So hey, if it makes me and everybody around me better people, I'm thankful and grateful for it. And I also think it's just really cool. Like, the science. It's science, guys. If you are ever wanting to know more about this, please let me know. I am doing star chart readings. Book them. I might be booked out for a week or two right now. And then I'm anticipating for that just to keep growing and growing. But they end up being an hour or an hour and a half. It's closer probably to a 90-minute session, teaching you a little bit about the areas of your chart, the restrictions, digging deeper into it. We find where your success is and where the easiest place to experience love and potential and career and growth and the restrictions you have. You're a unique spiritual being living a human experience, trying to find the freedom to be you in a way that aligns with your energetic purpose and your soul's purpose. So I hope you took something away from this. I'm going to be talking way more about this stuff because this is literally what I do for a living, and it's so fun, and I love it so, so much. So I'll talk with you soon. I hope you guys have a great freaking day, and go crush it.